Hey everyone, Cable the Antique Book Collective, and today I'm getting to you guys with another fun little Bible studies out of a antique book. So guys, this is obviously going out of the same antique book as the last time, the same Clark's commentary. And guys, this one is yet another map, because it has two fold-out maps. I really want to go through both of these. So guys, again, this isn't everyone's cup of tea, but that doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, this is Antique Book Collective. It's not just antique book selling stuff, not just antique book finding cool things and making good money. Sometimes it's about the really cool other things that you guys can come across. So with that said, I have an awesome fold-out map right here, and I'll be showing you guys photos all the way through, just like my last one. But I have awesome map right here, guys, of how Israel was divided among the different tribes. So that's what this entire video is going to be about, guys. So this, if you guys are anything like me, when you read the Bible, you were sort of thinking, okay, so you're saying this tribe's land went from this place to this place, and then da-da-da-da-da. Where in the world were these places? Like, I know that one and that one and that one. I know where those were because of this other Bible map I went through, but I've never actually seen, like, the actual borders of what each tribe had until I found this Bible commentary right here. And guys, if you watched the last video, if you haven't, I highly recommend doing it. But if you guys haven't seen that one just yet, we know that there might be some slight variations of like how these maps actually were in reality compared to what we are seeing in this thing right here. We know that there are some differences between what we have right here and what we now understand, or maybe there were things in this that are more correct than what we understand now. There's things all over the board, but at the end of the day, it is very cool, and it's a nice extra layer of understanding in the Bible itself that we have right here, and we have access to right here because of this really, really cool book. But with that said, guys, again, here is the map. It's quite the large map. I mentioned in my last video how long my longest one ever that I've found for a fold-out map was. It was a lot longer than this one, but this one definitely is in the running for the longer fold-out maps that I get in books. But with that said, though, guys, I'm going to show you guys a lot of different photos, and since I'm going to be showing you so many photos, don't worry, yet again, I'm scooting to the side so I don't get in your way as I am explaining all these things. So with that said, I'm over here now. Don't worry. But yeah, with that said, we have a nice overview of this. So we have the Great Sea, or the Mediterranean Sea, depending on how you want to call it. It says it's both of those. With that said, though, we have on the northern end of things, we have Aram, or Syria, or Zoba. I have not heard it being referred to as Zoba, so I'm trying to remember what part of the Bible they called it that, or potentially that's what they were calling it at the time or around the time of when this particular map was made. Again, guys, this map was made in the 1830s, and at that time the Ottoman Empire was still in pretty close to full strength. I mean, they were still quite the powerful empire in the 1800s. Of course, as I mentioned before, they might have not been at their absolute peak power, but again, they still were not really a force to be underestimated. With that said, though, we have on the western side of things, we have the island of Cyprus. On the right side of things, we have the desert of Syria, and then we slowly work our way down, and you can see lots of fun little cities that we've heard of many times throughout the Bible, and we also have lots of ones that we have not heard of through the Bible. Interestingly enough, we have basically at the top of the map almost, we have the port of Antioch. Antioch, that's the one from the Bible, obviously, but we have lots of other ones too that you might hear from other parts of history, and some of these you hear about through like stories of the Crusades and all these sorts of things. So it's really cool to be looking through this, studying this map, and be like, oh, so that's where that one that was mentioned in the Crusades was. Oh, that's that one from the New Testament. Oh, that's one from the Old Testament. Oh, so that's where that one dude did that one thing, basically that sort of stuff. As we work our way down the coast, though, we finally get to Sidon, which is in the Phoenicians' territory, which is pretty cool. And going down a little bit further, we finally get to the Israelites' territorial lands. So we get to the tribe of Asher, which is on the northern end of things, and I'm actually going to show you guys just a larger map of this sort of thing, and I'm actually going to at least try to like sort of highlight or circle or something each little section so you guys can really lock in on that on the broad map as I go through this. But right off the bat, on the northern end of things, we have the tribe of Asher. Then we have right below that, we have the tribe of Zebulon, then we have the tribe of Issachar, half tribe of Manasseh. Remember, guys, the other half tribe was on the other side of the Jordan River because that's the land that they wanted. As we work our way down a little bit further, we have the tribe of Ephraim, tribe of Benjamin, tribe of Judah, tribe of Dan. We have the land of the Philistines. We have the tribe of Simeon, and then we have on the other side of the Dead Sea, we have the Midianites, and then we have the tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Gad, and the other half tribe of Manasseh. And then we have Galilee of the Gentiles, and there's some cool stuff about a lot of these areas that you actually will learn as you study the Bible a little bit more and more. Something I learned that was quite interesting. So if you guys remember the guy who had had Legion, all those demons cast out of him, went into the pigs. If you guys remember what that tribe was, you actually know a few more things about this particular area and the actual history of Israel in general. That's really stinking cool. It's fun, like, to read through the Bible just for the sake of reading through it one time, but then it's also fun to look at some of these particular small things, and it's like, oh, but on that side of the Sea of Galilee, I thought that was still the half tribe of Manasseh, because that is their land. But if you guys study the history of the Bible and you study things through that lens, you're like, oh, well, actually there was this falling away during one of the many rebellions early on in Israel's history, and this led to this, and that's one of the divisions. That's one of the reasons why they aren't liked for that reason. It's really interesting when you guys start studying things with that perspective. So with that said, though, that's all of the land of the Israelites as of how they were more or less originally cut up. Because if you guys know your Bible, you know that the land of the Philistines was the border moved a little bit every now and then, and you have all the different other areas where borders did move as Israel expanded into other people, as they other areas as they went to war, all that sort of stuff. So it is very cool to look at. Again, as we mentioned in the previous video, we have on the other end, we have the Amalekites. And then there's one I don't recall hearing much about, but it says it, the Idumeans, something like that, which is interesting on the east end of things. Then on the eastern end of things, we have the Moabites and the Ammonites, which we've all heard of. But yeah, guys, it's cool, all the different things that you can see. So with that said, I've now gone through the entire thing. So now we're going to zoom in on things a lot more. So it's interesting looking at these things because a lot of the landmarks that you saw described to mark out the lands, the stretches of the territory of each tribe, it's interesting because not all of those things are actually labeled on this particular map, which I thought was sort of an oddity because it's like, you know, if I was making a map on this, I feel like I'd label those things to be like, hey, not only is this the map that I came up with based on my own studies, but here are the actual things that I went and found to like verify that these are the actual landmarks. That's what I personally would have done if I was making this. Not saying that the guy that made this was wrong in any way, shape, or form, because I don't know at all. I haven't done enough studying to be able to judge whatsoever, but it is incredibly cool to see this. And again, there are things that I wish I could see a little bit more of, but it is cool seeing just this. For me, it adds an extra layer of life to the Bible. If you know, you guys know, like if you've read it, I mean, it's just, you hear, just looking right here at the half tribe of Manasseh, their territory follows the coastline, and at the top of it you have Mount Carmel. I always pictured that like, I don't know, more close to where Benjamin or Judah's territory was, but as it turns out, it's in the half tribe of Manasseh's territory. I never knew that one. It's just interesting going through all these different things and seeing these amazing these interesting landmarks and all that sort of stuff. Something I always will think is so interesting is looking at Jerusalem on the map. So Jerusalem is in the tribe of Judah's area, and then just to the south of that is Bethlehem. And it's just interesting to think, it's like, so Jesus, born in Bethlehem, died in just outside of Jerusalem. It's interesting seeing how close it was, because according to the key right here, I mean, that's what, let me just use my pinky as a guide. It's like just shy of 10 miles from where or just a little over 10 miles, English miles, of where he was born. It's like interesting to think that the Savior of the world died just a few miles from where he was born. You know, it's like, I mean, those of us that studied the Bible at all, and have seen maps, we know Bethlehem was pretty close to Jerusalem, but it still is interesting seeing it on a map and just sort of conceptualizing these things a little bit more and thinking about it a little bit more. Of course, we also see Jericho, which we know is the location of the actual Jericho, at least most likely, because they built it on top of the ruins of the previous one. And you guys know the curse that was done on Jericho, and someone still decided to build a city there, and despite the curses, don't know why you would do that, but whatever. But it's interesting seeing all these sorts of things and sort of, again, guys, conceptualizing all these sort of things off of this. And you have the, let's just say, there's just so many amazing things in this, guys. You have the different brooks, you have some of the rivers, all these different things that you hear all the Bible stories about. You have Gath, which, guys, for me, whenever I thought about Gath, which was the capital of the Philistines' land, you have, who is from Gath? There's an important character from the Bible that's from Gath. Come on, guys. So David and Goliath came from Gath, and I always pictured Gath as a city that was a little bit further away from the borders of Israel. I thought that it'd be a little bit further back, because I mean, generally, if you look at a country, the capital generally is going to be a little bit further away from its hostile nations, hostile neighbors, because A, they put the capital further back just to be smart, or B, they captured and conquered all the land around their capital just to be smart and safe. But it's interesting seeing Gath. It is right on the border almost with the tribe of Simeon, and it's not too far from the border with the tribe of Dan, which, again, guys, I think that's quite interesting. So if you think about it, it's like, that explains why the Philistines were always warring with the Israelites. It's because, like, all their stuff was right there, right on the border. It's really interesting, that sort of stuff. And further still, I mean, we have Hebron, which, of course, I have to point that one out. Hebron is to the south of Bethlehem, to the south of Jerusalem, on this map at least. And who took Hebron? I'm giving you guys a cocky look because it's my namesake. Caleb is the one that did that in the Bible, so it's fun seeing Hebron. But again, guys, there's just all the different cities of the Bible. It's just really cool seeing all of it just sort of broken down like this. And, like, you have Heshbon and Nebo, which I don't think I heard anything mentioned about those in the New Testament, but, like, in the Old Testament, I mean, you heard quite a few things. I think, like, Judges, you heard about it the most. I don't recall off the top of my head, I'm sorry, guys. But it's just, again, really cool seeing all of these things. It's interesting also because it makes me wonder, how many of these were, like, actual cities during the time that this land was first carved up, and how many of these were founded, like, 100 years later, 200 years later, all that sort of stuff. So for me, like, of course we do know some of these that were actual at the time, actual cities, but then for me, Samaria, it's like, okay, I do know the Sumerians were in the New Testament. I do know that you had all the division in the Civil Wars. And Samaria, guys, that's in the tribe of Ephraim's territory, by the way. But it's like, was Samaria a town when it was carved up? For me, I can't recall that off the top of my head, but it's like, makes you really wonder and makes you think. And again, it just adds an interesting layer of interest and intrigue to all this. And in addition to all that, totally an aside, if you will, part of me is wondering, I wonder how many of these rivers are actually following these same channels that you have in this particular map. Because a lot of rivers, guys, they change their banks like every X long. Like some rivers on their flood seasons, like their 30-year floodplains, sometimes you'll have a river totally pick a new channel that it's going to follow after that flood, or every 100-year flood or something like that. So it's interesting looking at some of these rivers that they have outlined. It's like, I'd love to see this overlaid with a modern day photo of Israel, and even like the coastline. I wonder how many of these islands are submerged now, how the coastline has changed, all that sort of stuff. It's just an interesting further layer. And if you guys saw my last video and then you compare the map of the Sinai Peninsula compared to the modern day Sinai Peninsula, it's like, that's interesting. It doesn't have that same feature here anymore, and it has this one here now. What happened there? That's just something that, again, guys, I think's quite interesting. It's just a certain richness that you get from an actual paper map that you don't get otherwise. So with that said, though, guys, I could obviously go on and on about this forever because there's just so much cool stuff, but I'm going to probably cut it there just because, again, I don't want to waste you guys' time too long with all of this. But for those of you guys that were really interested in this, I do have other videos that I'm going to be making on this. I'm going to make some shorts as well, most likely, because, again, guys, there's just so much power in seeing maps of the different lands, the Holy Lands themselves, because as we all know, picture's worth 1,000 words, so a map's got to be worth at least 1,000 words. So with that said and done though, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to drop a like. It does help the channel. Helps this video get seen to more people. If you guys like this sort of stuff, be sure to subscribe as well. I like to go through certain books every now and then. Of course, a lot of what I do is talking about buying antique books, selling antique books, that sort of thing. But sometimes I do dive into things with some of these antique books that just have a little something extra that I feel is really worth sharing. So with that said and done though, guys, thank you again for watching. Be sure to check out one of my other videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.